Good evening students and welcome to my channel. In the last video I have given some questions to you and you must have answered very well. So today I will give you the answer, you can match with your answer sheet. And one more thing that I want to say, that whenever you perform any surgical procedure, that is, you have created artificial wound. And natural wounds may be by accident, by scratching, these can also produce wounds. So any kind of wound, whether produced in the accident, whether it is produced by some infection or it is produced by surgical intervention. So healing takes place in a similar manner. So various stages of healing, in the various stages various things are required, various cellular components are required, and if any one of these is missing, that means that can hamper the healing of the wound. If you have performed surgical procedure very meticulously but still some missing elements are there which are required for the healing of the wound, that wound will not heal properly and you may have non-healing or delayed healing of the wound. And many times what happens, whenever we remove the suture, the wound gapes. That means both ends of the wound open up. So there is a dead space in the wound. So that means wound has not healed. So there are many things. So by these questions we will understand what are the various things which are required and what are the various stages and at what stage the things are required for good healing of the wound. So let's discuss the answer. How many phases of healing of wound? How many? One thing I want to say, that in this I may answer more than what is required, but at least I will first give to the point answer and then I will add something to that answer. So in this case, how many phases of healing of the wound? You simply has to write there are 3 phases of the healing of the wound. Now the next question, name the various phases of the healing. Now you have to name the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So phase 1 is your inflammatory phase, when all the features of inflammation are present. Phase 2 is your granulation phase, when the granulation tissue is forming. And phase 3 is the scar formation, when the wound has healed, granulation tissue is also gone and only the scar is present. And this scar, that is the last stage, that keeps on, you can say, modulating according to the tension put over the scar tissue. Give the duration of each phase of healing. So if first phase 1 to 4 to 5 days, second phase 5 to 20 days, and third phase 20 days onwards. So these are the things that you have to write. Just this much is asked and you have to write only these things. If you find that the question is 5 marks, 7 marks, only then you can elaborate all these things. Otherwise, if it is 1 or 2 marks, just write this: phase 1, 1 to 4 to 5 days, phase 2, 5 to 20 days, phase 3, 20 to 20 days onwards. So all these phases are overlapping. You cannot define by placing a line or marker that now this phase has ended and the next phase is starting. So granulation phase is which phase of the healing? Granulation phase. It is the phase 2 of the healing process. Okay, name the first phase of healing, that is the inflammatory phase. Inflammatory phase is the first phase of the healing of the wound. Now you have to define the wound. Define the wound means there is discontinuity in the epithelium or the skin surface of the body. So that discontinuity may be superficial, just deep to the epithelium or the skin surface, or it may be far deeper In case of your limbs, it may reach up to the bone, maybe causing the fracture. Or in case of the abdominal cavity, the wound is through and through to the abdominal wall, and then ultimately it has also created, the instrument has also created the wound into the gut or other viscera. So what happens immediately after the wound is created? So whenever the wound is created, there are many things that occurs at the local site. If we discuss at the local site, there is tension in the collagen fibers which have formed the skin or the mucous membrane. There is change in the charge over the collagen fibers, and these messages are sent to the various types of cellular elements, neutrophils, platelets, mast cells, so that these accumulate at the site of the healing of the wound. So these are the things that are taking place at the site of the wound. How the platelet plug or hemostatic plug is formed. So I have told you that whenever the wound occurs, these changes occurs at the site of the wound, and these platelets are also charged. So these platelets produce histamine, and they become more adherent to each other as well as to the damaged collagen fibers. So when these platelets receive a message from the site of the wound, they are attracted towards the site of the wound, they adhere to each other, one, then that plug adhere to the site of the injury, that is the collagen fibers there. So they form a hemostatic plug. Along with that, these platelets produce histamine that causes the vasoconstriction. So that means vasoconstriction along with the platelet plug formation, they produce hemostasis at the site of the wound. So in the first phase of healing of wound, capillary permeability is increased under the influence of serotonin and the prostaglandins. So these are the chemicals which increase the capillary permeability. This capillary permeability is there under the influence of serotonin and the prostaglandins, which are produced by the various cellular elements accumulating at the site of the wound. And these increased permeability is also responsible for the loss of fluid from intravascular space, and because of increased capillary permeability, various cellular elements like neutrophils, mast cells also leave the vascular lumen and reach to the site of the healing of the wound. These neutrophils are phagocytic cells, mast cells are phagocytic cells. So they help in the digestion of the dead dying tissue, the margins of the wound, so that whenever these cells are constructing new tissue at the damaged site, that means they have to remove the old and dead tissue, so that new site is available for forming the new collagen fibers. What is the role of neutrophils in the at the site of healing of the wound? As I have already discussed, these neutrophils are phagocytic cells, and these are responsible for eating or destroying or removing the debris at the site of the wound. So these are the answers that I have given to you, and in the next I will give you 10 more questions so that you can answer, and we will quickly move one by one. So next questions will also be based on the healing of the wound. So you must read the whole chapter healing of the wound, and if you find any difficulty, you can give your question in the chat box, or you can say your message box, or you can ask directly. Okay, thank you very much, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.